30 years of gardening, probably 1,000 mistakes. But these 8 were the worst calls I ever made. 3 of them cost me over $1,000 to remove. 1 damaged a friendship with a neighbor I had known for 15 years. And plant number 8, the prettiest flower on this entire list, almost hurt someone I love. That one still keeps me up at night. 8 flowers I bought, planted, and now wish I had set the receipt on fire instead of bringing them home. The plant the catalog called low maintenance, the one your neighbor swore by and you bought 6 of. Every single one looked like the answer to a problem I already had. 3 years later, they were the problem. If you are planning any spring planting right now, stop. Watch this first. The time you spend here will save you years of backbreaking work you never signed up for. Before plant number 1, drop a comment right now. Have you ever bought something beautiful that turned into a complete nightmare by year 3? Just tell me yes or no, what the plant was, and what state you garden in. I read every single comment. Number 1 is the regret you will not see coming. The prettiest plant on this list. Stay with me, because your garden deserves better than guesswork. Flower number 1, Shasta daisy. Big white petals, cheerful yellow centers. The kind of flower that shows up in every cottage garden photograph you have ever loved. Wholesome, harmless, classic. What could possibly go wrong? First year, perfect. Bloomed beautifully in early summer. Looked exactly like a gardening magazine. Second year, I started noticing more Shasta daisies than I remembered planting. A few extra. Interesting. By year 4, they were in the gravel path, crowding out perennials I had paid real money for, growing in the middle of plants they had no business being inside. I was spending weekend mornings doing nothing but deadheading just to slow the spread. Here is what nobody says at the point of sale. After a Shasta daisy blooms, it produces hundreds of seeds. Those seeds travel on wind and land everywhere: soil, gravel, cracks in pavement. And while the seeds spread above ground, the roots expand below it, creating bigger clumps every single season. The real problem is not the plant, it is the innocence of it. You feel ridiculous being frustrated with something that looks that cheerful. But by year 4, I was managing a Shasta daisy removal program I never agreed to run. Zones 5 through 9, most of the continental United States. What I grow instead? Coreopsis moonbeam. Same cheerful daisy feeling, soft yellow blooms that last for months, tidy clumps that stay put. I have never had to remove it from somewhere I did not plant it. Flower number 2, orange Daylily. You know this one. You have seen it your entire life without ever planting it yourself. Highway ditches along 70 inches Ohio. Old fence lines in Tennessee. Abandoned farmhouses in Pennsylvania. Masses of bright orange trumpet flowers, completely unbothered by heat, drought, or neglect. That resilience is not a feature when it is in your garden. It is the warning you missed. I planted a handful at the edge of my property because I wanted that relaxed, naturalized cottage look without any effort, and I got it. The effort came later. Within 4 years, what started as a few plants had become a solid mass, nearly 3 feet across. It had eaten the space I had planned for other things. The tuberous roots underneath were thick, dense, and completely tangled. Getting them out required a mattock, not a trowel. A mattock, a full day of digging, and 3 days of sore arms. Here is what the tag does not tell you. Any piece of root you leave behind regrows. You can cover the bed with 6 inches of mulch. They push through. You can cut them to the ground in August. They come back in May, completely unbothered. Professional removal of a well-established orange daylily patch runs between $300 and $800. That is the real price of a plant that costs $4 at the garden center. If you have never thought about a plant purchase that way before, what it costs to get in versus what it costs to get out, subscribe to this channel right now. That is exactly the kind of thinking I share every single week. The math the garden center is not doing for you. Subscribe before you keep watching. Zones 3 through 9, most aggressive in zones 5 through 8. You are also not getting the best looking daylily. Modern hybrids come in dozens of colors, bloom repeatedly, and stay put. What I grow instead, Stella de Oro, or Happy Returns. Same toughness, repeat bloomer, compact, refined. Same zones, zero excavation. Flower number 3, ribbon grass. This is the one that cost me a neighbor ribbon grass. The variegated one with white and green stripes is genuinely beautiful. It moves in the wind in a way that looks expensive. The tag said it was perfect for filling in those tough spots where nothing else grows. I planted it along my back fence line thinking I had just solved my biggest landscaping problem. And for exactly 1 season, it looked fantastic. Lush, full, moving beautifully in the wind. Then year 2 happened. New shoots appearing several feet beyond the bed edge. Interesting, but I figured I could manage it. Year 3. I was pulling ribbon grass out of my vegetable garden 20 feet away from where I originally planted it. It was coming up through cracks in my patio. It had crossed under the fence, and my neighbor, who keeps an immaculate yard, asked me very politely if I knew that my grass situation was starting to appear in his flower beds. That was the conversation I mentioned. Not fun. Ribbon grass travels through underground rhizomes. Those rhizomes do not recognize property lines, garden bed edges, or the $200 you spent on that patio. They go under all of it. Removing established ribbon grass means digging at least 12 inches deep and getting every single root fragment. I spent an entire weekend digging it out and still had new shoots the following spring. This is what I cover every single week, what plants actually do in a real yard 3 years after you bring them home. Subscribe now. Zones 4 through 9. The warmer your climate, the faster it spreads. What I grow instead: Carl Forster, feather reed grass. Tight clump, same movement and height, stays exactly where you planted. No rhizomes, no neighbor conversations. Flower number 4. Obedient plant. The name is ironic, because this plant is anything but obedient. Obedient plant produces beautiful tall spikes of pink or white tubular flowers in late summer. Hummingbirds love it. Butterflies visit constantly. The garden center tag called it a well-behaved native perennial perfect for sunny borders. I planted 3 along my garden path. First season, gorgeous. Bloomed exactly as promised. Year 2, 6 plants instead of 3. Interesting, but fine. Year 3. Obedient plant had spread 4 feet in every direction. It was elbowing out my coneflowers, tangled up in my salvia, crossing the path into the lawn. It spreads through aggressive underground stolons that travel fast and break easily, and every broken piece becomes a new plant. You have to get deep, get every piece, and even then you will probably be pulling new shoots for the next 2 seasons. Here's the thing about plants labeled native at the garden center. Native does not mean gentle or contained. It means the plant evolved to thrive in your regional climate, which often means it is exceptionally good at reproducing and spreading. The tag was technically accurate. It just did not tell you what well-behaved looks like in year 3. Zones 3 through 9. Almost the entire United States. What I grow instead: penstemon, Husker red. Tubular flowers hummingbirds love just as much. Beautiful burgundy foliage. Stays exactly where you plant it. Hardy in zones 3 through 8, and I have been growing it for 5 years without a single invasion problem. Flower number 5. Periwinkle's Vinca minor. Periwinkle is sold at every garden center in America as the solution for shady slopes. Dense evergreen ground cover, pretty purple-blue flowers in spring, fills in quickly, suppresses weeds. Sounds perfect, right? I planted it on a slope behind my shed where grass would not grow and erosion was a problem. For the first year, it did exactly what I wanted. It covered the slope, stopped the erosion, looked tidy and attractive. Then it kept going. Periwinkle does not stop at the bottom of the slope. It keeps spreading into the lawn, into adjacent beds, under the fence, anywhere it can root. Once it establishes, it creates a dense mat that smothers everything underneath it. Native wildflowers I had growing at the edge of that slope, gone. Small shrubs I had planted nearby, completely engulfed. Periwinkle does not coexist. It dominates. I lost close to $400 worth of established plants to a ground cover I paid $30 for. Removal requires pulling up the entire mat, and the roots are tough and densely woven. It is backbreaking work that takes hours for even a small area. Zones 4 through 9, covering the vast majority of the continental United States. especially aggressive in zones 6 through 8, where winters are not cold enough to slow it down. What I grow instead: wild ginger, Asarum canadense. Native ground cover for shade, stays where you plant it, produces interesting little flowers at ground level, and actually supports the local ecosystem instead of smothering it. Works in zones 4 through 8, and I have never once had to remove it from anywhere I did not want it. Flower number 6, Lily of the Valley. This one breaks my heart a little, because Lily of the Valley is genuinely beautiful. Those delicate white bell-shaped flowers, that sweet fragrance in late spring. It is the kind of plant that shows up in poetry and wedding bouquets. But in your garden, it is a slow-motion takeover. I planted a small patch in a shady corner under a tree. For 2 years, it stayed small and well-behaved. Then, year 3, I started noticing it spreading. By year 5, it had traveled 6 feet from the original planting and was coming up through the roots of a hosta I had planted 3 feet away. Lily of the Valley spreads through underground rhizomes called pips. Those pips form dense mats just below the soil surface, and they are extraordinarily difficult to remove completely. Every tiny piece left behind regrows into a new plant. Getting it out requires digging up every single pip, tedious, slow work that has to be done carefully, or you just spread it further. The other issue: all parts of the plant are toxic. If you have pets or grandchildren who play in the yard, that is a real concern. Zones 3 through 8, covering most of the northern half of the United States. Now, I want to ask you something. Do you believe garden centers have a responsibility to warn customers about plants that spread aggressively or are toxic before selling them? Or is it entirely up to the gardener to research before buying? Drop your honest opinion in the comments, because I know people have strong feelings on both sides of this question. What I grow instead: foam flower, Tyrella cordifolia. Beautiful native shade plant with delicate white flower spikes, attractive foliage, stays in a clump, and is completely non-toxic. Works in zones 3 through 8. Flower number 7, chameleon plant. This is the one I regret more than any other plant on this list, and I am including it specifically so that nobody watching this makes the same mistake I did. Chameleon plant has stunningly beautiful foliage: green, cream, pink, and red, all on the same leaf. It looks exotic and tropical. The garden center label said it was perfect for moist shade and would spread to fill in problem areas. It spread all right. I planted chameleon plant in a damp, shady spot next to my downspout where I could not get grass to grow. Within 1 season, it had filled the area. Within 2 seasons, it had escaped into the lawn, jumped into a nearby flower bed, and was heading toward my neighbor's yard. Chameleon plant is one of the most invasive ornamental plants you can put in an American garden. It spreads by rhizomes that travel underground in every direction. It tolerates sun, shade, wet soil, dry soil. It does not care. And it has a distinctive smell when you disturb it that most people find unpleasant. Removing it requires excavating every piece of root. If you till the area, you chop the rhizomes into hundreds of pieces, and each piece becomes a new plant. You can smother it, poison it, dig it, and it keeps coming back. Professional landscapers in my area will not even touch chameleon plant removal. It is that difficult. Zones 5 through 11, which covers most of the United States except the coldest northern regions. In zones 7 and warmer, it is nearly unstoppable. What I grow instead? Nothing. I leave that spot mulched. But if I had to plant something in moist shade now, I would use native golden star. Bright yellow flowers, well-behaved spreading, actually supports native bees. Works in zones 5 through 9. That spot next to my downspout is still just mulch. If this video has already saved you from making even one of these mistakes, subscribe right now and share this with one gardener in your life. That one share could save someone years of weekend work they did not sign up for. Now stay with me, because what is coming next is not just the plant I regret. It is the one that genuinely scared me. Flower number 8, Ruta graveolens. This is the one. This is the plant I referenced at the very beginning of this video, when I said one of them almost hurt someone I love. And I need you to pay close attention to every word of this entry, because the consequences here go far beyond a damaged garden or a strained neighbor relationship or even money spent on removal. Rue is sold at specialty nurseries and herb gardens as a medicinal herb with beautiful blue-green foliage. It has a long history in traditional European gardens. It produces small yellow flowers in summer. It looks refined, historical, intentional. I planted it in a sunny herb bed next to my kitchen garden because I had read about it in an old gardening book and wanted that authentic period cottage garden feeling. Year 1. It looked exactly as I hoped. Architectural, elegant, completely well-behaved. Year 2. It had self-seeded, not aggressively, but noticeably. Then one afternoon in late June, my grandson, who was 4 years old at the time, was playing near that bed. The sun was out. It was a beautiful day. He brushed against the rue plant while chasing a butterfly. Within 2 hours, his arm had developed blisters. Here is what I did not know, and what the plant tag I bought it from did not tell me. Rue contains compounds called furanocoumarins. When these compounds contact skin and that skin is then exposed to sunlight, the reaction that follows is not a rash. It is a chemical burn. A phytophotodermatitis reaction that can cause severe blistering, pain, and in some documented cases, permanent scarring that lasts for years. This is not theoretical. Poison control centers across the United States document rue burns every single gardening season. Children are the most frequently affected because they brush against plants while playing outdoors with no understanding of what they are touching. We were lucky. The contact was brief. The blistering was limited to one small area on his forearm. It healed within 2 weeks and left no scar. But it could have been his face. It could have been both arms. It could have been far worse than it was. I removed every single rue plant from my property that same week. I have never planted it again. And I am telling you this story now so that you never have to have the conversation I had with my daughter about why her son came home from my house with blisters on his arm. Zones 4 through 9. It grows reliably across most of the United States. If this entry alarmed you, and it absolutely should, subscribe to this channel right now, because I cover exactly this kind of critical safety information that most gardening content never touches. The information in this video alone could protect your family from a genuinely painful injury. Subscribe, share this video with every gardener in your life, and turn on notifications. Because what we cover here matters every single week. What I grow instead: lavender, lavandula, beautiful blue-green foliage, fragrant, loved by pollinators, and completely safe. If you want that soft, silvery blue cottage garden look, lavender gives it to you without a single safety concern. Zones 5 through 9. That is plant number 8, the prettiest regret I ever made, and the one that still keeps me up at night. 8 plants. 8 honest stories. And underneath every one of them, the same problem. I walked into a garden center, saw something beautiful, read a tag that told me what I wanted to hear, and bought it without asking the questions that would have changed everything. So before anything goes in your ground this season, ask yourself 3 things. First, what job am I hiring this plant to do, and what else might it do that the tag is not telling me? Every plant on this list was sold as a solution. Ribbon grass fills tough spots. Periwinkle solves erosion. Chameleon plant fills shady wet areas. The tag shows you year 1. It does not show you what the plant does to everything around it in year 3. Before you buy, search the plant name alongside the word invasive and read what actual gardeners say 5 years after planting. Second, what would it cost me to remove this if it goes wrong? This is the question almost nobody asks at the moment of purchase, and it is the most financially honest question you can ask. A $6 plant that requires professional removal runs you anywhere from $300 to over $1,000. That is not a $6 decision. Before any plant goes in the ground, know what getting it back out would actually cost. Third, is this plant safe for the people and animals who use my yard? Tags rarely mention toxicity or phototox reactions. Research it independently. Every time. I make these videos because I genuinely wish someone had told me this information before I planted the wrong things and wasted years fixing mistakes I never saw coming. If that resonates with you, subscribe right now, because every week I'm making sure you don't have to learn the hard way like I did. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment telling me what mistake this video just saved you from. Do it now. Your garden deserves better than guesswork.